So, this is a video tutorial for this, what can I call it? Paper flower frame pot. Because I think among the paper flowers that I made, this is the multifunctional one, or it's double purpose. So basically, you already have a decor, and then it can also function as a frame, or basically a memo holder. Because it has wooden clips, you can pin your pictures or a message in it. Awesome, right? Let's proceed with the tutorial. So let us begin with identifying the tools and materials that we will be using for this project. First and foremost, our flowers, our paper flowers. So I have 2 stems of my paper rose here, and then 2 of my Anastasia flowers, bouquet size, so both are the smaller versions of the templates. And then I have 1 of the larger version of the rolled flower, so also in red, and 3 smaller version of the rolled flowers. The tutorial for the paper rose is provided in the link below. The tutorial for the Anastasia flowers comes with a template. Later in the video, I showed the best way to roll the flowers here. I'm a Cricut user. I use Cricut to cut the templates. If you don't have a cutting machine, of course you have the option of using scissors, so it's one of the tools as well. With this kind of intricate cuts, of course, I highly suggest using a cutting machine. But if you don't have one, for the template for this bundle, a PDF file is provided, so you can use an X-Acto knife, but I highly don't suggest that. I highly suggest a cutting machine if you have one. Let's place this aside for now. Last but not least, in our paper category, some strips of cardstock that I use for the grass-like material in the project. So most of the materials, I provided the link in the description below. So I use 65 pounds cardstock most of the time. That's very easy to use. So let's set this aside for now. What are our other materials? So we will be needing wires for the stem. So for our flowers, for the 4 flowers, we will be needing a 12-inch wire. And for this portion, and also for your rolled flower stem, you will be needing an 11-inch wire. So I covered the wire with floral tape. So you will also be needing some floral tape. This 11-inch wire, I already covered with floral tape, so I'm going to place it here. What else? You will be needing a clay pot, the smallest size that you can buy. No, I'm kidding. This might not be the smallest size, but yep, I'm gonna provide the link. And your wooden clips. You at least need 3. It's up to you if you want to add more, but I just used 3. Just prepare a little bit more, just to be sure. And then, as a filler, or where you're going to like poke your flowers, you will be needing a styrofoam. So this one I did not buy. This is actually a 1.5. The thickness is 1.5. So I was just able to like get this from the packaging of furniture that we were buying before. But if you don't have one, it's 1.5-inch thick. And then to cut that cutter, it's handy to have a cutting mat. And then to measure your wire, you can have a ruler or a measuring tape or a tape measure. You need your glue gun And then for the wire work, I highly suggest to have this plier, so that you can already like cut, or a long nose, you can already cut your wire by this. So it's very handy to have, it's very important to have one. Or for the paper flowers, I highly suggest to have some, or you need to something to curl them. I really love to use the handle of a paintbrush. You can use whatever cylindrical tool that you prefer, wooden dowel or the glue stick that you use for your hot glue or your glue gun. Speaking of, you might be needing extras, so just prepare. And then what else? See, so you have your scissors, and then, yep, optional, very, very optional is your hand drill. So, and then to roll the rolled flowers, a hairpin. To poke a hole in the flowers, you might need the drill bit, a small one with a small one. And to make it easy for you to roll or like cover your wire, it's handy to have a bottle. I swear. I'm going to show later like how I used it. So I'm just going to like, yep, so bottle. So far so good. These are the tools and materials that we will be needing for this project. So let's begin. So there's one thing that I actually forgot to say in the materials. You will also be needing thin strips of wire to hold the wooden dowels, to hold the bouquet together, and also wires to like place at the bottom of the smaller flowers for you to poke in the grassy area of the project. So I made a little bit of changes to the paper rose that I used for this project compared to the one that I had in the video tutorial. So, as you may notice, this one has 6 outer petals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The one that I used for this project has, well, I want to say 8, but it's 2 layers of 4 petals each layer. So, just to make sure that I show the technique, or just to make sure that you would all, or I just want to make sure that I show like how I did this one. So I'm going to start with, wait, sorry. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm in the third to the last layer of petals. So instead of having just 6 this is like the large among the 3 petals for this template. So instead of 6, I prepared 8. So you have 2 last layers, so 4 for each layer. So I'm going to set these aside first. These are just for samples. I'm using red cardstock here. So what I want to do is I want to position my petals in a cross-like position. To make it easier, so I'm going to place glue on this one and then place it in between. Let's make sure that we place it in between. And then do the same for the last 4 petals. And there you have it. Let us proceed with adding a stem for the paper rose. So you're gonna do that with the 4 flowers, bouquet size. So grab your stem. So I already covered this with floral tape. And your sepal. And something to curl your sepal. You would also need to use something cylindrical to curl the petals of your flowers. So that also applies for the Anastasia flower. You can use whatever cylindrical tool that you like prefer. I really prefer to use a handle. And then I prefer to use a power drill or a hand drill. In the video tutorial, if I am not mistaken, I actually showed another way wherein you would not need a power drill. So it's your choice. So first, you begin by poking a hole on on the bottom of your flower. Yep. Be careful if you're using that one. So use whatever edge you want to use. I prefer this one. So try poking it inside. Okay. So what I do is I put some generous amount of glue, hot glue in there, and then that's where I poke it. Okay. And then add more. And then let it dry. Set this aside for now. You will be needing, you need to curl your sepal. And then attach it. And then insert your sepal. So place in some hot glue in there. And then attach it. And there you have a stem of rose. The next technique that I'm going to show you is, for me, the easiest way to roll rolled paper flowers. So you can use a quilling tool if you have that one, or if you don't have that one at hand, you can just, roll it manually. So I'm going to show you using this one. So create a fold, and then slowly turn it. Do you see? Yeah, I'm slowly turning it. and then let it a little bit loose. And then see this flap. So place in small amount of hot glue and then close it. Voila! An easier way to do that is, or this is the easiest way for me. If you have a power drill or a hand drill, then your life will be saved. So it will also be best if you have a hairpin. So this usually has that like round thing at the end. So it's best if you use like a long nose or like a plier to like remove that. And then it's okay if the paint is chipping. You don't really need the paint. So what I did was, loosen this a little. And then attach it. Okay, make sure it's there. Make sure it's fit, it's snuggled up. So it's easier to pin it this way where the curved edges are. Yep. And then again place a generous amount of glue in there. And then you're done. Yay! The last tip that I'm going to share is covering or using floral tape to cover this one. I mean your stem. So by the way, for your smaller flowers and for the one that has the wooden clips, you will be using an 11-inch, or like this is 11-inch, the stem, compared to the 12-inch of the paper flower bouquet size flowers. So my tip is just so simple. You might have heard this before or have seen this before. So use a bottle to hold the floral tape. So just put it like this and then start at the edge of your wire. Place in a little bit of hot glue there and then start turning. It's just easier this way when a bottle is holding the floral tape. I'm not gonna punch a hole here and then poke the stem. I'm just gonna use the other technique that you can attach your flower into. Your stem into the flower. So I rolled it. Using my pliers, and then I'm going to make this flat now. And then I'm going to place a generous amount of glue here. Turn this upside down and attach it like this. You can add more glue to it. Use the metal part of your pliers to flatten it. Okay, so and add the sepal on it. you have your rolled flowers. Yay! So let us begin first by filling up our clay pot with our filler, which is the styrofoam. So I grabbed my cutting mat with me, and then I forgot to say that it's advisable to have a pencil. So, and then no, not yet, this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is trace the opening of or the roundness of your clay pot to the styrofoam. Also grab your cutter, then cut the part where you have your circle. This can tend to be a little bit messy, so just prepare your trash can. So remove the excess. You can go a little bit further inwards, because what you actually need is the inner circle. So you can go a little bit inside and cut like diagonally a bit, like you see, because this like tapers down as well, or tapers smaller. So it's getting a little bit messy now. Try it. Okay, so it kind of fits now. You just have to push it down. It's okay if it's a little bit snug. I prefer it a little bit snug, so it won't like come out easily, and it will hold your bouquet or the flowers. See? Yeah. Okay. Set this aside. Just throw them away. The next part will be this part. Placing the wooden clips on the stems. So grab your stems that you should have covered with the floral tape by now. Grab your wooden clips, at least 3, and your very thin wires. And also you will be needing your pliers or long nose. It would also be helpful to have like a wooden dowel like this, so the curve will be smooth like this, and then open it up a little bit. Yep, so let's use just the dowel. Okay, so I'm going to insert the small wires. Okay, so you see your clip, so it has 1 and 2. So I'm going to insert this small wire in that 2 holes. So let us try. It's your preference if you want to place hot glue, but because of the floral tape, in my experience, it does not really stick. But let us still try, just to have that peace of mind that you did everything in your power. It will hold for a bit. That would help, actually. we're done. It's not as hard as I thought. Unlike in my earlier statement, the hot glue actually kind of works to hold it temporarily. It might come off, but it will hold it temporarily for you to be just in time for you to like fasten it securely and tightly. So grab your flowers. So what I usually do is alternate. So yep. And if you want to add this an accent, so you can do so. I'm placing it here. And then in between, we're actually gonna add our clips, the picture holder. So we're gonna place it a little bit lower, so if we're seeing it, so it's not as high as the flowers. Grab a strand of the thin wire and then start tying them like on this part. So this is the part where I want to measure, like if I want the height, or if the height is enough for me. Like for example, these are not like uniform, like one pokes out. I'm thinking of like cutting it here. So measure if the height is okay or enough, or is enough for you or okay with you. I think I'm gonna use this. I think I like this height. So you really need something to cut your wires with. So I'm going to cut the excess wires. And then I want to make sure that they're kind of together. So I think I will be needing more thin wires. So I want to tie these together. So this edge actually, I want to cover it with floral tape. So when I poke it inside this one, it will be smooth. I mean, it won't have any friction, if that makes sense. Alright, after we're done with covering the tip, so grab your what do you call this, your clay pot, and then we're gonna poke our stem now, or our, like this, I want to consider this a bouquet, so we're gonna poke it now. Yay! Snugly fits. Okay, so we're past the hardest part. I mean, putting it together. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. Yay. Okay, so set this aside. Grab your grass. Grab the strips of paper that you have. So this is the fun part, I believe. We're gonna crumple this, like make it loose and then crumple it. I'm not sure if we will be needing everything, so you know, keep the excess if you wanna make another one or more. So yeah, so crumple this one. You have the option to glue it, but I suggest using a low temp one because this would melt the styrofoam. Or you can actually place masking tape in this. So let's try that. So grab a masking tape and then place it in the styrofoam. And then place the glue in there. Okay. And place your grass. This is also a fun part. So grab your scissors and let us trim the excess. As if you're trimming grass, right? It's not attaching. It's attaching. So, trim the excess. Trim your grass. Yay! And clean, clean, clean as you go. Another fun part, grab the 3 rolled flowers that you have. Grab some small wire. Cut at least, so I've got smaller pieces. So roll the tip, flatten it. Do this for another 2. I didn't realize that you can flatten 2 at a time, so that's a tip. Attach it to the small rolled flowers. And now you can attach it. Oops. Wait. Oops. Okay. Last one. And we're done.